You know, the remake, it's a plague. It's everywhere. There's too many of them. It's lazy, it's cheap, it's shit. We hate it. But there's a couple that really are worth it, and some of them are even better than the originals. So now, in no particular order, I want to bring you 8 great remakes of horror movies that I love a lot. My name is Devin Faraci, and this is Badass Digest. I said no particular order, but perhaps the greatest remake of all time is The Fly. David Cronenberg's reimagining of the 1950s monster movie. He really put his own personal stamp on it, turning what had been sort of a weird, disturbing movie into, I think, one of the pinnacles of body horror. Goldblum going into that telepod and coming out and slowly falling apart. It's a metaphor for life in the world of AIDS. It's a metaphor for growing old and falling to pieces. It's a metaphor for a lot of things, but mostly it's really disgusting, which is what's really great about it. Cronenberg brings a whole new life and a whole new level to The Fly, and I really believe that the 1980s version of The Fly is head and shoulders above the original. Another remake that's actually maybe better than the original, maybe it's just my generation speaking here, is John Carpenter's The Thing. Thing from Another World is a terrific movie. I don't think that it necessarily does everything you want in a horror movie. I think the idea of a sentient carrot is sort of a weird villain idea. John Carpenter took it and did something really exciting and really different. It's a film full of some of the most incredible practical effects that has ever been on screen. And the tension and the paranoia that Carpenter brings to the story of a group of guys trapped in the Arctic with shape-shifting aliens, unparalleled to this day. All right, you're gonna kill me when I say this right now, but I'm gonna put on my list of 8 great horror remakes the 2009 Friday the 13th. I know, it's Platinum Dunes, I know it's the worst, but here's the thing, I'm a hardcore Friday the 13th fan. I have seen every single movie multiple dozens of times, and I'll tell you something, Friday the 13th, 2009 is probably better than half of the original films in the series. I mean, it doesn't reach the heights of absurdity of Jason X, and it's nowhere near as good as Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, the best in the series. But you know what, the 2009 Friday movie, I think it works. I think it captures Jason in a really interesting way, and it brings him up to date. I think that what I like about it a lot is that it's not apologizing for being a slasher film. It's a post-Scream movie where it's okay just to be a slasher movie. They're having a lot of fun with it. It's kind of a pity the movie didn't quite take off because it's 2013 now. We have some Friday the 13th this year. It would have been an incredible year to have Friday the 13th Part 13, a missed opportunity.
His name was Jason, and today is his birthday.
So Steve McQueen, we know him from Bullet and being a 70s icon, but he got his start in The Blob in the 1950s.
This town is in danger.
The Blob is one of the all-time great horror movies, but I'm going to say the 1988 Blob is just as good as the original, and there's a lot that I think goes into it, a big part of which is, again, the incredible practical effects work. Maybe it's a part of my generation, but the idea of just watching people being dissolved by the Blob is so exciting. Some of these set pieces are incredible. The Blob really ups the gore, really makes it creepy and gross, but I think retains the fun of a 1950s monster movie. So everybody hates remakes and everybody's sick of 3D movies. So of course I'm going to put a 3D remake on this list. My Bloody Valentine 3D. It's a remake of a really obscure, super cool Canadian slasher movie, but I think it really works. I think My Bloody Valentine 3D is one of the most fun slasher movies of the last 10 years. Like Friday 2009, it really embraces the genre. I think there's a really good central mystery in it that works terrifically well. And here's the thing, the 3D is incredible. This is a movie where they're not afraid to put a pickaxe in your face. This isn't that Avatar thing where everything's about depth and being in the frame. This is a horror movie, man. This is blood splattering out into the audience, and that, I think, is always going to be a ton of fun. A lot of the movies that I'm talking about here are kind of gory or kind of really hard edge, but I'm not just necessarily a gore hound. I think that one of the better remakes, period, is the American remake of The Ring. I think Gore Verbinski managed to make a PG-13 movie that is actually terrifying. I mean, this is a movie that'll haunt you for days after you watch it. I just recently caught it on television, and it still managed to disturb me and find its way into my dreams that night. I think that's the hallmark of a really good horror movie, is that even after you know what you're getting, it's still managing to unsettle you. And I think that the imagery and the pacing and the tension of The Ring is actually master level work. The original Hills Have Eyes is one of my favorite movies. It's just one of these really great up exploitation movies. So trying to top that, wow, how do you even do it? Alexandre Aja didn't quite top it, but he really made it his own with his remake of The Hills Have Eyes. He's taken the story of a mutant cannibal family, one of the great tropes of the last 30 years of horror films, and put a really grim, hard-edge spin on it. The thing about The Hills Have Eyes remake is that it came at a time when horror felt like it might have become a little toothless, when maybe things had sort of fallen a little too far along the lines of the Scream business. And Hills Have Eyes was a sudden blast of brutality. Didn't quite top the original, but reminded us what it was like to go to a grindhouse theater and be really deeply upset. The final film on this list of 8 great horror remakes is really unique because the director remade his own movie. It's Michael Haneke's Funny Games. The 2007 remake was a shot-for-shot remake of his 1997 movie. Funny Games is kind of an incredible film in a lot of ways. I mean, the original is a brilliant masterpiece, and so the opportunity comes to remake it, and he does it shot for shot with some minor and telling differences. Funny Games is a movie that's about our relationship to violence in movies, and by remaking it, it's kind of an exciting experiment. I think he pulls it off really well. I don't think that the 2007 remake is as good as the 1997 original, but I do think that it's just sort of the daring high-wire act of a director coming back, remaking his own movie, and trying to make it just as f***ed up as the original. I think that really earns a place on any list of great remakes. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments. List your favorite remakes and reboots. Subscribe so you don't miss a single episode going forward, and be sure to tell all your friends on Twitter and Facebook to come join the Badass Digest discussion. We'll be back here again next week doing something totally different, hopefully just as badass as this. My name is Devin Faraci, and this is Badass Digest.
Get your film fix. Subscribe to Cinefix.